when you're around it for such a long time, you obviously get deeper into it. You meet more people. You're doing it often. It's around you more. You become a byproduct of your environment. It's just a matter of time, and that time was up for me, and I became that. I started dabbling in recreational drugs, but that just spiraled out of control. Um, that just turned into a habit every day, and then before you blink of an eye, 5 6 years go past, you're in jail.
Ivy, how did you find carnivore?
How I find carnivore was very interesting. Um, I actually found it. I guess I stumbled upon it unknowingly, and a lot of people freak out about that. I found it about 3 years ago now. And the way that I found it was before finding carnivore, before finding this lifestyle, I was in jail. Um, I was an addict and things like that. So I lived a complete opposite lifestyle, very unhealthy. I would not have been the person you would have come to ask about health advice, life advice, you know. So me finding it was I guess a decision that was maybe a subconscious decision where I didn't hear about carnivore. It wasn't a thing. I didn't really see it, but it was just something I said, I need to do something to better my health, heal my body. Because I had a lot of gut issues. I had a lot of ulcers. I had a lot of cysts internally, had SIBO, IBS. I had a lot of these issues. So prior to me losing my ways with addiction, I was studying naturopath. I was studying nutrition. So I found my way back into that. I fell in love with it, and that was through going to jail. I got sober. I fell in love with training. I fell in love with the whole process of self care, self love, things like that. So it rebirthed that journey within me, and I was just like, this makes sense. This makes sense eating meat. This makes sense from everything that I was researching when it came to ancestral living, tribal living. I really dive deep into looking at tribes, African tribes, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, all those sort of island people tribes. When you look at the way they live, how they live, chronic illness, where does it play their part, and the way they eat, there's a huge difference. And it made sense to me. So I was just like, you know what? I'm eating meat. It makes sense. There's no I couldn't see a red flag. There was no red flags for me. I'm like, this makes sense. These guys don't even know what cancer is. Like they don't know it's not heard of. They don't understand that. And I've seen it many times, even with not even with African tribes, just some European people, Lebanese people when they're deep in like Afghan and stuff like that. They've never heard of skin cancer. They're like, what are you talking about? Like we're outside all day, every day, working, slaving away, doing our stuff. What's skin cancer? What's sunscreen? Like, what are you talking about? So that started to it just really resonated with me and the way that I was diving deep into that information. So I was like, I'm eating red meat. And I just did.
Wow. And sorry, how long ago was that?
This has been just over 3 years now. So I haven't checked, but I definitely know I cracked over a thousand days being carnivore.
Right. And like it's just one of those things that you noticed pretty much straight away. Oh, yeah, I'm doing the right thing.
Straight away. And like I said, I think also with sort of my mentality and mindset from when I come out of prison, I was in a very positive, driven, tunnel vision for my goals. Where I just come out and said, "I'm doing this. There's no ifs, no buts. There's no other plan. This is what you're doing. Okay, stick to it." And that was it. And when I did that straight away, I seen within I'm going to say it probably took me maybe 8 months to sort of notice, but everyone around me was like a couple weeks, couple months going, what are you doing? You're changing like that. Body transformation, inflammation, face. Um, I was very pudgy. I'm not going to say fat, but I was very inflamed, very water weight, pudgy in the face, round face, um, just very fluffy. No, no muscle definition. It was just very full, watery. That's the information. It took me a long time to notice, but now I look back at it and I'm like, wow, just that reduction in the inflammation in the body itself, the face change. It's crazy. Sometimes I look back at it, I'm like, damn, like some of us we don't notice this unhealthy lifestyle that we're living and eating, even though we're getting taught that it's the food pyramid and it's healthy.
Mm. But like when you look at that, going from being in jail and having addiction issues
Yeah.
to where you are now, that's like 180 degrees, right?
Yeah.
R- Related to alcohol, I've had addiction issues. One of the things that I've found is that when I'm eating this way, I have such a higher level of self-control. Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. Because since then, I've been 3 years sober, no drinks, no alcohol, no substance, no nothing. So, does the diet and the lifestyle play a part of that? Absolutely. Because if me coming out of jail from being an addict for over 5 years, and if I went back to a normal whole foods, carb filled sugar, how I don't know this, but how would have my mindset, my mental state been? Would I have been in depression? Would I have been super craving? Would I have buckled to the temptation because of those foods that lead you to those sweets, the carbs, and things like that? You would have been super sluggish with all the things that we know. The brain fog, all those things. Could have old habits come back with that? I do think so, 100%. I definitely think I would have been definitely depressed and anxiety and all those things would have come back a lot more. There's no way I could be where I'm at mentally with no depression and no withdrawals and things like that. I don't think if I wasn't on a carnivore diet.
And so, like, you're into the training as well. People notice the difference in you. Do you the friends that are saying, "Wow, you're really changed," are they also saying to you, "What are you doing? Tell me what to do"?
They ask me what I'm doing, and they're like, then the conversation gets funny. What do you mean you're eating meat? So you're only eating meat? But what about greens? So you haven't meat and greens? No, just meat. What do you mean just meat? You're having meat and carbs, surely. Some rice. You're having some steak and rice. No, just meat. That is it. There's nothing else on the plate. It's just red meat. and they get funny. They don't understand. They don't understand the concept. They don't understand how you function or it works. Everything that we've ever heard. You surely you need greens and veggies. They're healthy. You need your fiber. All the things that we all know about in the carnivore space. They're the main things that people question and bring up. Oh, it's not healthy. You can't live like that. It's not sustainable. But that's fair enough. Have your opinion. But if someone like me, that they have seen a big transformation, continually to do it, continually to get better, have improved symptoms, and we're so far through, for me, 3 years deep, you can't say that's not sustainable because you can't eat a whole food pyramid diet in a calorie deficit. That's not sustainable. There's, that's why they have to chop and change. That's why I have to bulk and do a cut because it's not sustainable just to be always in a deficit, always eating those foods. So what's really more restrictive? What's really more got more rules and things like that? It's definitely not our diet.
Right. I mean, it's just so sustainable because of that, that you eat, you get you're satiated, you're like, your blood sugar's just stable, you're calm, and you can go about everything else in your day productively and efficiently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but just how simple is the life that we live? Whether if you have 2 meals a day or one, or some people might have three. I have one. I fluctuate mainly one, but two sometimes. But spending less time in the kitchen, eating less food, buying less food, like how is that not sustainable? Doesn't matter what food we're eating. You're spending less time in the kitchen, less time cooking, buying less food, eating less. You're not going around looking for snacks or going through drive-throughs or all that sort of thing. That's all gone. So how is that not sustainable? How is that not being more productive and giving you more time in your lifestyle?
That's right. And then also, I mean, there's people that talk about, food related to waste and stuff as well. There's no waste, right? You're
That's
hardly
right.
throwing anything away.
It's funny you say that. So a lot of people say, I don't know where it's come from, but everyone goes on about, oh, meat's the hardest to digest. It takes hours, takes days. And I said, okay, if you know anyone with um, colitis or they've had their colon cut out and they've got the bag, right? If you go talk to them, ask them when they have to get waste out of that bag, what is it, the solids that they see most? And they will say it is the carbs, the veggies, and the fruits because they are harder to digest, like we know with plants and nuts. It's very hard on the GI tract to break these things down. It takes longer and it's very hard for it to break down. When they only have meat, he's like, I can't tell. It just comes out. Like whatever does come out, it's like water. You can't tell that was meat, but you can tell there's a little bit of veggie, there's a little bit of broccoli. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that the old thing as you're growing up is, when you ate corn, you always knew you'd been eating corn, right? Like you never there's no, like, the steak doesn't come out intact.
That's right. Never, I've never seen parts of a steak, part of fatty meat ever come out. But yet you could see corn when you haven't had corn in weeks. Like, how does that work? It's
Right.
just everyone knows that whether they're sick, they vomit, whatever it is. There's always some sort of corn, and they're going, "How's that there? Haven't had corn in weeks." Well,
Mm.
because maybe it's not digesting. Maybe it's just sitting with the waste of the other crap that's in there. You know what I mean?
I think it's just one of those old tales that they've been able to get away with because meat digests so easily. People think, well, there's nothing coming out, so it must be just hanging around in there, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like they just flip the switch of what they can, like, oh, well, you eat meat, you go to the bathroom, or you're constipated, you digest. It's taken days to break down and digest. So meat's no good for you. You need your fruit and fiber. And then what? They have their fiber and it comes out. Well, not technically. We know what happens with fiber. All it does is just, draws the water into the colon and bulks it up and pushes it out. Doesn't mean you needed fiber or fiber was the magic tool. Yeah, it's crazy. I think once you get, you know what, it's not even if you get into the carnivore space, it's more if you just become open minded with being outside the system, being outside the system and guidelines that we've been taught. If you can be open minded, whether you're a fruitarian, vegetarian, keto, as long as you can be open minded and have discussions, I think that is where you really elevate and you can try things and learn different aspects. Whether you go back to your roots, that's fine. But being open minded, you can take some really cool tools away from the carnivore space.
Yeah.
Whether
I
whether you Whether you want to be a carnivore for the rest of your life, that's okay. But if you having that opportunity to let some of the principles that we use into your lifestyle, that could definitely benefit you.
Yeah, I think, it is really beneficial, but just that ability, no matter where you are, what your diet is, whatever, just the ability to step back and stop looking at the trees and actually look at the forest and evaluate things kind of like as a whole rather than going, "This is the thing I like, so I'm just gonna talk about this," you know? It's so important.
Yeah, it's. I think that's one of the biggest things we just, which I always tell people. There's, like I said, being open minded. If you and when you and when I generally mean, just be open to it. Where if I said, hey, just try some with it, you try it and you go, it's not for me. Great, it's not for you. No worries. You tried it. I know you're open minded. You're opening to listening and trying different things. Great. I think when you can really do that in all aspects, nutrition, holistic practices, you will really elevate, your knowledge and I guess different methods, understand your body a lot more because now you're looking at it in a different perspective. Things you're not going to see before, now you might see differently. You're like, okay, so I think this space is generated a lot of positive things in the health world in the and not just carnivore but just the health practices in general. A lot of doctors coming out now, a lot of I'm getting a lot of clients that are saying, hey, my doctor suggested it. Great, amazing, like fantastic. I couldn't applaud that doctor anymore. Give me his name.
Yeah, I was speaking to a lady from Sydney the other day who was telling me, there's a cardiologist near her that's recommending his patients go on carnivore.
Yeah,
It's
beautiful.
Yeah, things are changing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so can you kinda paint a picture for us about, what what was life like, um, prior to carnivore? Like, as you were growing up or, just day to day as you're going to work, like, what was it like before, I don't know, brain fog-wise, that kind of thing compared to now?
um it's definitely different, I can tell you that. um School, teenage years, I was obviously into sports. Um, Played soccer and basketball heavily. I always thought that was what I was going to be. I was going to be a professional in soccer or basketball. Um, Traveled, around Australia for basketball. Traveled overseas in America. Played a lot in America for, high schools and things like that, tournaments. So I was really heavily invested in, sport performance and, nutrition itself, particularly for that. So it's completely opposite to what we know now. I was always taught carb cycle, carb load, you need carbs. So it's definitely different. Um, had an injury, unfortunately. I have a full knee reconstruction, replacement. That was about when I was 18, so very young. And then that put me to a halt. That stopped me. I had the surgery, had issues with the surgery, had to go back. It was just a few issues that happened, and it sort of put me off. Scared me a little bit as well, just to hurt it, train, get back into that movement. So sort of, I would say, put me off track a little bit because I didn't know what to do. I've always played sports, always trained. All your weekends are full of sporting events. So that sort of put me off on the track, and then maybe that led me to that dark path. I'm not too sure, but it probably did assist in that because I was lost, not sure what to do. You just didn't really think about the future, so to speak, career wise, job wise, anything like that. So I got a bit in trouble, hanging around the wrong people and things like that. Those people were partying and social eventing, stuff like that. But when you're around it for such a long time, you obviously get deeper into it. You meet more people. You're doing it often. It's around you more. You become a byproduct of your environment. It's just a matter of time, and that time was up for me, and I became that. I started dabbling in recreational drugs, but that just spiraled out of control. Um, that just turned into a habit every day, and then before you blink of an eye, 5 6 years go past, you're in jail. Just like that. That's literally how it happened. Time flew.
Wow. It's yeah, so just when I think about the knee part of it, it really feels like, you know, that could be something that kind of really throws you off track. If
Mm.
you've been into soccer and basketball and playing a lot, going to America to play, that kind of thing, and then you've had the knee surgery, things go a bit wrong with that, and you're not as flexible anymore, and, like, just walking, running, that kind of thing reminds you that things aren't right.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like it kinda helps you spiral out of control, right?
yeah, 100%. And I even know to this day, I remember after the surgery and doing the rehabs and all that, people were like, "Oh, did you watch the footy on the weekend? Or did you watch the basketball game?" And I always said no because I don't watch it anymore because it's sort of, it, it almost mentally played with me because I always couldn't play. I couldn't get back to how I was. I was a pretty good athlete. I was a quick sprinter. I was a good jumper. I could dunk a basketball. I'm only 5'10". So that mentally it takes a toll on you, and then not getting back into any fitness activity was a struggle because of the complication that I had. Then I tore my hamstring and they cut the hamstring out. So, and it was on the same leg as well. So I had a few problems and that just set me back. And then I was just scared to train or run or anything because I was worried that it's just not going to hold up. So I put off training and anything for a long time. I just walked and that's all I ever did. Never got back into anything. And then I would say, um, you know, going to jail. Obviously, I got sober in the first time in 5 6 years, where that was a blessing for me. That was something that really was a pinnacle moment for me in my life that changed everything, which I'm grateful for because it got me clean, it got me sober, got me to evaluate what I want to do in my life, where I want to go, and things like that. So training began in there, and it was just the basics, push ups, sit ups, pull ups, and I guess those basic movements built the foundation of strength. Then, obviously, once we got to carnivore and come out, that obviously elevated it. No knee pain, inflammation dropped. Where before I had knee pain, I had tendonitis, I couldn't kneel, I couldn't cross my legs. Just the pain of my knee touching the floor, just I couldn't do it. Being on carnivore, it's all gone. I can. I forget that I actually have that now, where I do hybrids type of training, which is running, anything, running, strength lifting, squats, you name it. So there's no pain there at all. It's a lot better than ever. So it's a
Wow.
huge, yeah, it's a huge. I guess it would be a huge achievement, but for me, like I just forget that I've ever had it now.
Right, right.
Mm.
Um, and so right now you're, like, helping other people, right? You're coaching other people.
Yeah.
And so is that mainly from a training perspective, or you're also doing nutrition, and is carnivore part of that?
Yeah, so it's actually heavily more on nutrition and just holistic health practices. I focus heavily on that, plus really diving deep on the education. The training is part of it, but like I tell my clients, most people already have their routine and things that they love. I'll just overlook it and enhance it, or if they want training programs, we'll add it. But I'm heavily on nutrition, which is carnivore only. I don't do anything but carnivore. So people know they're coming to me, they're going to get a carnivore meal plan.
And, so the people that are coming to you, are they already doing carnivore and struggling, or are they more likely to be just like, I need to lose some weight and get in shape, show me what I
No,
have to eat?
yeah. So most people are obviously have heard about the carnivore, don't know where to start, sort of need a hand, or they're someone with a chronic illness and they're just fed up with everything. They've tried everything. They've tried keto. They've tried calorie counting. They've tried all the medications. They're on heaps of medications, and they're over it. They're not getting better. So it's mainly people with a chronic illness. I've never really had someone who's just fit and healthy and said, "Hey, I want to try carnivore." It's always specific with someone who's really suffering, with chronic illnesses, and we just work on that. And the diet is the number one tool that we put into place, and then we just attack it. We attack the root cause, which heavily on gut health, heavily deep in gut health with chronic illnesses. Doing cleanses, detoxes, look at your organs, how they're functioning. Like I said before, whether someone was a carnivore or a vegan, there's still certain practices I would teach anyone to be healthier, holistic, to just detox from the toxic world and environments that we have around us these days. The carnivore nutrition is just I feel is a level up of what we do and what I do, because it's just going to elevate everything else. Um, yeah, so the education on it is big too. Which I say to people is, I'm not saying I'm the best coach, but I'd like to think it. But the biggest thing that I get feedback is your knowledge. You're very knowledgeable in many aspects, and you go deep into places that most people don't talk about, or maybe afraid to talk about. Like I talk about cancer and things like that. I get very heavy into these things, which I try to share my knowledge so you guys get and understand what's happening, so you can have a different perspective, so you can actually make better changes and choices through your lifestyle, not just while you're with me, or not just while you're on a program and follow a meal plan. I actually want to give you the tools and the skill set, so later down the track you can teach your kids, family, whoever it may be, the same principles to incorporate into their lifestyle.
So, when you've got someone come to you that hasn't actually heard about carnivore, hasn't tried it yet, um, would you recommend they kind of go cold turkey into carnivore, transition in, or is it person by person?
Definitely person by person. I obviously push for them to try, but as we know, some people have a lot of vices that they need to get rid of, whether it's heavily on coffees or energy drinks, smoking, vape, all those sort of things. So we look at what's happening, but the main focus is your diet. That's going to be your biggest change to help you with those other vices, depending also on their mindset, how determined they are, how much effort they really want to put in and change this. Most people will go the cold turkey and just follow the plan. Yes, they do struggle, and yes, they need to adapt, as we know, but they get through it. And I think it's the best way. But there has been some people that do really, really struggle. So I'm like, okay, so let's try and aim for carnivore for 3 days a week. Let's just get you into the habit, the practices, understand the routine and the knowledge that goes with it, and then we can increase slowly, slowly, slowly. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes we might have to put them on a keto, let them go do keto for a little bit, then go, okay, let's try and bring you over to an animal base. Okay, now let's try and bring you in a carnivore. Sometimes that has happened. Just they struggle with variety and the mindset and wrapping their head around it. But most people, we dive straight into it.
Mm. I like the sound of that kind of, let's do carnivore for 3 days and then you do your normal whatever for 4 days or something like that, because that's almost like it's proving to them you're going to feel better this way. Like, because when those 3 days when they're doing carnivore, they're going to sleep better those days, right? They're going to have more energy those days. They're not going to think about junk as much those days.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a strategy. So I do work heavily on mindset as well. Um, to, it's all connected. We know it's all connected. Your food, nutrition, our environment, all these things, they're all connected, right? So if we can really tap into all of these, everything's going to really flourish. So the reason why I try and do that, if they say, oh, I can't just dive straight into carnivore. Okay, sweet. Let's do 3 days. Because I know them doing those 3 days, they're going to feel good. They're going to see the benefits. They're going to enjoy it. And then they can, be flexible and cheat and go back to their old ways. I know those 3 days we're going to be mad. I'm going to be way better. And they're going to do those 2 days and be like, I feel like shit. I'm bloated. What the hell? I wasn't bloated 3 days ago. And then they're going to go, maybe I need to push a little bit more. Maybe I'll do 4 days. You know what I mean? So it's a bit of a psychological game here that I've put into them.
Yeah, it's awesome. So one thing I forgot to ask you is you mentioned you're doing OMAD, but is that meat only? You're not doing eggs or anything like that?
Yeah, so I do meat only. I do red meats. I do raw meats. I do organs. I do a lot of raw organs. I'm very, I would say, very carnivore, proper carnivore. Red meat or raw meat. Am I against eggs and things like that? No. I think they're great. I think they're great to use. I think maybe it's just because I've been in a habit and I actually enjoy having just the red meat. I feel good. I like the taste. I can be creative with the meat, the mince, slow cook, make rissoles, make burgers, patties. So it works really well for me. And I can get a huge variety of mints. I've got some really good connections here in Sydney. I can get deer, I can get crocodile, I can get camel, I can get emu. I can get some really cool stuff where that will blend it all for me in just one mince. So having that variety tastes great, super nutrient dense, good nutrition variety as well, ratios. Um, or I can just do basic red meat and stuff like that. So for me, red meat is just easy, convenient. I enjoy it. And then all the others, they're great too. But for me, it's more simplicity, like just real simple. I know what to do. I know what to get. I know how to cook it. I know how long it takes me. And
Right.
I know where to get it from.
So you mentioned a few kind of exotic meats there. Like I've had crocodile, and to me that was just a little bit like a combination of fish and chicken.
Yeah,
But
fish, chicken.
yeah, but what about camel? What does that taste like?
Camel's really nice, actually. It's hard to explain. Um, See, it's for me when people are like, oh, because I eat a lot of kangaroo now. A lot of people are like, oh, what's it taste like? I'm like, I don't know, beef.
Yeah, like when people have asked me about kangaroo, the thing I put it down, the closest I can put it to is like veal or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. See, for me, when I think, for me when I think about it, I feel like it's the same. It looks a little bit different. It's a bit tougher. When you're making it up and handling it, yes, it's got a pungent smell to it. But when I eat it and cook it, looks the same, tastes the same.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, so like you're ordering from specific places, like are there some good places around Sydney, like
Yeah, so there's a lot of
market?
Yeah. So there's a lot of meat wholesalers. They're popping up a lot now. I think because a lot of people are getting into the meat space themselves. I always bounce around. I don't just stick to the one because people have different cuts, different things, different varieties, different prices. But it's just good to mix and match. Some people don't have the mince I want. So I just like to mix and match. Every week's different. It keeps it fun. It keeps it a variety. It's not boring. Every couple of weeks you're going somewhere else. So it's just part of the process. It's part of that journey where it makes it interesting, makes it fun. I only shop mm, maybe every like 3 or 4 weeks. Like I don't shop much. My goal is to spend between $200 to $300 on a shop, so that can last me a month or 3 4 weeks. It's easier, convenient. Like I said, convenient time. You're doing less shopping. You're out on the road less. You're just doing one trip. It all works hand in hand, and you're just ready to go. You got your meat. It's works easy. It's simple, a very simple life. So yeah.
It's nice to have that simply, like, you're not going into the supermarket, you're not walking around every aisle, you're not going, "Oh, what am I gonna make on Tuesday? What's Wednesday's dinner? What's this? What's that?" It's just, like, I'm
Yeah.
just cooking up a steak. That's it.
Yeah, you know exactly where to go, whether it's the butcher, you just know exactly. You look at the variety. Yep, I feel like this, beautiful, or done, easy. How do you cook it? Mostly always the same way. In your pan, it's only a couple seconds. You're searing it. If you want to be a bit fancy, reverse sear it, put it in the oven, slow cooker meals, but really, really simple.
Yeah. So if people wanna get in contact with you, do you have a website, or what's the best way of reaching out?
At the moment, I'm getting my website built. Obviously, I do everything through my socials. My main one is Instagram, which is I am Ivy Sardi. And I think just that content on there, it's super educational. Anyone who asks me questions, hey, have you got advice? I said, honestly, just take the time to go through the videos. There's enough information on there for someone to go, okay, I can do a carnivore. There's enough information there to start, do a shopping, have a go. Um, yeah, there's a lot of content, a lot of information there that we share on our socials in the carnival space as well. So it's the best place to start. And then obviously, you have questions or whatnot, feel free to message. I'm always open for a chat, a discussion.
No worries. I'll link to your Instagram in the show notes. Ivy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
No worries. I really appreciate you having me, Dave, and looking forward to stay connected and showing everyone the carnival way.